Hi there, it's Paulie. Hey. So, I'm a miniatures gamer. Have been since I was 12. I do love miniatures. I love painting them. I love playing them. Usually love playing them. And, well, you know, have you ever been in one of those games, or have you been at a convention where other people are playing games and there's that shout that echoes through, we're only talking 2 millimeters here. Someone's bumped the table and, you know, something can't quite make, you know, charge range, or someone measured something and then when the other guy measures it, that's 2 mils out and etc. He screws, you know, DBM was horrible for that. Despise that game. But anyway, this has been a point of contention in games. Most arguments are going to come from measuring distances. What if there was a really, really, really good set of miniatures rules where that wasn't going to appear again? That's just not going to happen. And there is, and they're brilliant. The Ancients version of these is called To the Strongest, which is what Alexander the Great, you know, supposedly said to his generals, oh, you know, as he's dying, who shall be your heir? Ha ha! It goes to the strongest. There is also a Renaissance kind of 17th century version of these, which is King and Parliament. But for the moment, we'll talk about To the Strongest. So, To the Strongest, haha. To the Strongest is played on a grid. So you can get these, you can get like a table cloth, a terrain cloth, marked out in grids. You can choose the size of grid you want to match your figures and what scale you're going to play. They're very subtle. You can also do it just with little dots that just kind of slightly outline the squares so you can see. So it doesn't interfere with the look of the game. But what happens is troops move within these squares. You can move straight forward, straight back, sideways, diagonally. So you're not kind of worried like DBM about the pointless minuati, these tiny bases of troops. Oh, this one's going to flank this one and this one's going to... No. The bases sort of move and deploy in these areas. You can set things up so that there are more than one unit in a square. There'll be a leading unit and a trailing unit. There are circumstances in which you can interpenetrate, fall back through each other and so on. Now, the cleverness of this is it runs off decks of cards. You will take 2 decks of cards, take out the court cards, Jack, Queen, King, and the Jokers and so on. So you end up with 2 sets of cards 1 to 10. You put those together and each player gets one of these decks. So, when you have to activate troops, what you do is you nominate a square, or rather, sorry, you've got different commands that generals have. So one general gets a go. He nominates a square under his command to activate and move either all the units in that square or, you know, one of them if he's just trying to move one away. He turns a card. Now, to make something move or act, he's got to get higher than an ace. So 2 or higher for an action. And those actions can be to move or they can be to fire. Now, what you do is conduct whatever you've done and you get the chance to do another action with that unit if you wish. To do that, you've got to draw another card and the result has to be higher than what you just got. So, if I have some Roman legionaries and I just want to move forward, good, I need higher than a 1. Yay, I bring out A5. All right, that's nice. All right, I want to keep these guys moving. Okay, so I'm going to draw again. This time I get a 10. So yay, they keep moving, but 10's the highest card in there. Now, they have said that a 10 always succeeds, but I know there's only 3 more 10s in this big deck. My next one's going to be a fail. I may want to stop there because you can keep going and you can cease moving and using a unit and move on to another one at any time you want. But if you draw and fail, the movement for that command under that general stops. You run bust. Now, some moves are more difficult than others. If you're trying to move diagonally, or if you are trying to sort of shuffle sideways, or if there are sometimes there are different types of units which are awkward to move, they have a higher margin. So instead of beating the previous card, you've got to beat it by a margin of 2. It's a difficult move. Still easy to remember. So it's less you go, I go than most games. You've got this kind of interlaced movement where you're moving these different units. But what I like is there's a gamesmanship in there. Are you pushing it? You know, are you going to go for glory with one unit and try and get it to do too many things and possibly go bust? Are you going to play a more cautious game and like move things forward, shoot and melee, and you know, make sure that everything just gets to do a little something? You can be, you know, you can be Alexander at Gaugamela. The pike phalanxes just grind forward, and whee! The companion cavalry rides off to glory around the hole outside the army and somehow, you know, heads for the enemy king. You know, that's a possibility. But if he draws the wrong cards, you get a weapon. So there are some get out of jail free cards. You can purchase as part of your sort of armies. You can get a hero. You can sort of attach heroes to a unit. All that is it's basically you put either a little figure or a marker that lets you know. That allows you a redraw with that unit if it screws up. Some generals also get the chance to redraw if they're a tactical genius. If you've got a general attached to a unit, it can redraw, etc. Combat is everything uses the cards. So what you do is when you want to combat someone, you move into an adjacent box and you declare a charge or you declare melee against them. You draw a card to hit, and if you hit, the other guy draws a card to save. If he doesn't save from a hit, then something happens to him. He will become disordered, and if he's disordered and is hit again, he can be sort of damaged. If he's damaged and hit, he's gone. Now, there are different types of units. There are kind of light units, which are skirmishers and so on. They do not disorder. If they're hit, they just go. There are also deep units like big pike phalanxes or huge blocks of like tribesmen and so on. They take way more damage. They're way harder to disrupt. But moving anything that's slow grind straight ahead with them is difficult. So turning them to face threats from the flanks, doing diagonal movements, attempting interpenetrations with other groups and so on doesn't work. Also, you can't have like 2 large units in a square. You can have 2 normal units, or you can have like, you know, a couple of skirmishers or something normally, but a big unit, you'll get like a light unit is the only other thing you can put in there. So you can have your pikemen going forward, you know, screened by your javelinmen or whatever, and the javelinmen, light troops can usually freely interpenetrate back and forth. So you're like, someone charges your javelinmen, they can do an evade move back behind the pikemen. So it's all great. Different classes of generals, as I said. There are heroic ones which you can attach to units, and that sort of gives the units a bonus in combat. You can redraw any misses in combat. But those generals are actually easier to kill because they're usually leading from the front. So normally when a unit that a general is with takes damage, you have to save for the general. It's actually harder to save with a heroic general because, you know, they risk themselves. You can get tactical genius guys. They have the ability to do redraws for guys that are sort of within a radius around them, rather than just someone that they're attached to. Different troop types, so they've got it all there. There's, you know, there's horse archers and there's massed archers and there's pikemen and tribesmen and, you know, melee infantrymen and javelineers and auxiliaries, all the stuff that we've come to know and love. You can simulate ones that are more highly trained and disciplined. They become like veteran, which means the veterans usually get a higher save. They're harder to disrupt and to budge. Keeping track of ammunition is an odd thing in these rules. I've never seen that really done before. Groups that have missile weapons, they come with an ammunition budget and they spend it. Now, normally you'll spend like a single point of ammunition in order to fire, but massed sort of shoulder-to-shoulder style archers, they can do like essentially saturation fire. They can fire twice in a turn if they, you know, pretty much do nothing else. But they'll chew through their ammunition more rapidly. You can spend a move on replenishing your ammunition from ammunition that you've got in the camp. But that's a move you have to make. So in other words, if you're missile-based troops, you can get this Yahoo glory thing where you're showering fire down on people, but then it's going to start slowing down as you have to replenish. So okay, that's an interesting kind of ebb and flow in the battlefield there. Look, we've played these. They're really nice. In 28mm, they look great. They play well. You can use troops based for any other system. They work particularly well with stuff that's based on the very large bases used for, say, impetus, which is another rule set. And in 6mm, they look fabulous because that kind of square system, and like I've got stuff done for King and Parliament, which is the Renaissance version of these big wide kind of pike units. You know, you got the pikes there, you can actually do the infantry like in 3 deep firing lines or 6 deep firing lines, and they look great. And in the Renaissance version, you've got different styles of horse, for instance. So you've got Dutch trained style horse, which tend to be very deep formations, which are cycling through pistol fire and so on, or you've got the Swedish style horse, which are shallower formations, which are more based on shock. And of course you can base them differently, so they look very different. And you've got musketeers, and you've got forlorn hopes, and all kinds of different troop types, cuirassier and all these sorts of things are in those, and cannon, of course. And so the Renaissance rules really good, really good. I played a lot of English Civil War stuff with that, and they're probably my favourite English Civil War rules. Now, one of the things I really like is it's very clear as to who's winning and losing. What you do is you make the army, you've got points and so on if you want to purchase units, different sorts of units, cost you different points, you've got a budget, diddly-dee. Once you have done this, you get these victory medals. They are any kind of counter. You can just use loose change from your pocket, but on the site they do actually have like ancient coins and English Civil War period coins and so on you can use. For each general and each unit of a certain type, you get a certain number of these coins. So deep units, you actually get quite a few coins. So if you've got like Spanish tercios or the big pike units that are like, the cream of the country, more coins. And this is your coin budget. Now, as you lose these units, you remove these coins from your victory pile, and they get discarded. They just get put in a cup or something. When you run out of coins, it's over. Your side has lost. You break and you run. So there's this really nice visual aid for how you are going. I actually really like that. There's no kind of calculation. And you can kind of take a bit of a glance over and see, yeah, the guy's got a pretty good pile there. Oh, no, actually his coins are getting a bit thin on the ground. So yeah, it's a nice mechanic, that one. I really like that. These are good rules. There are tons of army lists online. They're free and they're updated all the time. So those are just accessible online. The guy's site also sells things like ammunition counters and the coins for victory counters. He's got links to companies that do the sheets to go over your tables that divide them into squares and so on. There's a lively community that plays this. And they're kind of argument-free rules. That basis of people arguing over, I can't reach there, I can reach there, doesn't happen. So, hate-free gaming, fantastic. And that card system is really crisp and clear. It's all out in the open, so it's not like someone's rolling dice and I got a 6. No, you turn the card over and we can see. Once you've done the cards at the end of the turn, you give them to the other player, who then shuffles them and puts them back, so you don't have to worry someone's messing with the cards. Someone's had some intriguing experiences with toxic gamers and decided to make sort of a toxic proof game. I appreciate it. Thank you. The guy that runs this, makes this game, by the way, he's great fun. He's always in correspondence with you if you write to him with questions and so on. So anyway, look, these are a really great set of rules. I'm hoping that they continue developing them. I reckon this style would work really well with kind of European linear warfare, like 18th century stuff, horse and musket. I think this would work really well for that. So yeah, there's a lot more that can be done. Anyway, look, it's a very simple set of rules to sort of understand, so it's a great one for teaching new gamers. As I said, argument free. I like the gamesmanship of that activation system, the fact that You're making some gamesmanship decisions. Am I pushing this, or am I going to play more conservatively? Am I taking this risk? That is actual game design right there. Risk reward, which I don't see in a lot of things. So that, I think, is what makes this game exceptional. Anyway, I highly recommend it. You can get this game in PDF and printed form. Take a look. It's a great piece of work. Get out there and start gaming. Cheers, everyone. And if you like the videos, yay, like and subscribe. Cheers.